Let's begin. Welcome to our first episode from Hero to Human. My name is Magda Snowden.
Hi, my name is Nina. We don't have any special powers. We are going to connect. We're going to have good laughter and real talk.
Are you ready? Let's begin. Our podcast is called From Hero to Human. And when I mentioned this idea to my friends, my family, my colleagues, majority of them say, hang on a second, it is the other way around. We all want to be superheroes. How come you are shifting the narrative from hero to human? So for us, healthcare professionals, we are both nurses. I have worked in 3 different countries and 2 continents in both private and public healthcare systems. I have realized that when people are called heroes, it very often stops them from asking for help. That's why now is the time to start shifting the narrative from healthcare hero to wellness warrior and to human.
Wow, Magda, this is powerful. The fact that we have reached a point where we understand that it's important to be human in an era where the machines are coming in is amazing. And yes, you are very right. The human is of great need for changing the narratives and for shifting the perspectives and for bravery to occur because that's how things are going to improve for healthcare professionals. As Magda said, we've been there. So what we're bringing in is personalized experience. And we want to help people because we have some tools that we are learning as we go.
Fabulous, fabulous. And also going back to the human component, I passionately empower healthcare professionals with human skills. And when I talk about human skills, I refer specifically to mental agility, empathy, emotional intelligence. All these skills help us be better humans. So if you imagine any organization out there is run by humans for humans. So we need these skills to be developed at a good level so we can deal effectively with our human colleagues. And my advice here, and very often we don't give advices in these discussions. This is not a prescription, even though we come from healthcare. But one piece of advice is, please master the human interaction before you master the artificial intelligence.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I love when you focus on the human skills and when you focus on the emotional intelligence. And I think that's where we find a lot of our leaders. They have reached that level, and some of them do not have what it actually takes to lead from the heart. And a lot of research and a lot of books are written now focusing on leading from the heart. It does not neglect the fact that we should be logical and analytical, but if we are continuing in our journeys, it's important to realize that the human is very important and they need to be aware of how they function, how the human beings function. We know from our experiences that if you get really stressed, your productivity decreases, your creativity decreases, your performance decreases, and amongst the people around you, they will notice that, something has changed. And this is how sometimes burnout happens. And to start with the journey that we start off, we were nurses. We went into the profession full-heartedly and we pushed and pushed and pushed. And some of us, like myself, went to the burnout. And burnout is classified in the International Classification of Disease 11. And this is something that is scary. When something like this is a syndrome, and it's characterized by chronic stress that is unhealed or that is unmanaged. and you start feeling some sense of, I don't belong here. I don't want to work anymore. I don't have that emotional, physical, mental capacity to move forward. How was it for you?
I really like when you described these leaders, because I was this type of leader. I was the superhero. Back in those days when I used to work in the NHS in the UK, 200% productivity was my goal.
Exactly.
And those around me who were not performing at this level was very often seen in my own very eyes as non-productive. So I was that leader. I raised my hand. I am very comfortable in being vulnerable and saying how myself and you, we arrived in this situation. I did not know this science, the new type of leadership, how to address the human in front of us, how to address the human in front of me. I was very often neglecting my own humanity.
Yeah.
So how can I embrace the human that is sitting in front of me? Very often they are stressed, they are scared, maybe they are going for burnout. So how can I have a conversation with that person if me, myself, is living in the hero narrative? That's why I so strongly advocate that it is no longer acceptable to call nurses and doctors superhero and not giving them a chance to stop, to pause, to breathe, and ask for help. And thank you, Nina. You have shared your burnout story several times before, and it is definitely an inspiration for what we are doing in here, and many healthcare professionals out there have very similar stories. I would like to share my story, which I see does not come from burnout. My story comes from frustration, from seeing the same systemic issues in organizations, from seeing my colleagues suffer with stress and burnout and not being able to ask for help from one side, but also the resources are not being available for them. So my frustration, luckily, has turned into the creative space. And this is how we created our initiative, Thriving Together. We started the LinkedIn Live sessions, and we have just completed 30 sessions, so 30. This is our success. We are now finalists for the Mental Award 2024 in the category of Mental Health Champion. So thank you for this, because this show is not about us. This show is about you. You are the inspiration for everything that we do in this space. We learn from you as much as you learn from us. Even though we are subject matter experts in stress and burnout navigation, specifically in healthcare, the learning is continuous.
Yes.
So every single episode has brought me a new awareness, has challenged me to think deeper, to think differently, to ask myself again question about my own humanity and what message am I conveying to those who are listening to me.
Wow. You brought me a lot of reflection of how it all started. So the way I recall is that you had just moved back from Kuwait and you had such a huge vision, and we were talking about it. I think we went to a healing session and we started, brainstorming, giving out ideas and thinking, should we not? And we're like, yes, let's do it. Let's just push and let's do it. And I think we made a great decision when we decided to move forward, because in the space that we are talking about, there is a bit of stigma, I would say, or there's a bit of resistance when it comes to stress and burnout and the hero narrative and all that. And the fact that we have that capability to say, guys, listen, there's another way. There's not only one way, there's many ways around. There's different paths that you can take. And we are examples. And as you mentioned, we are on a continuous learning journey, because we cannot just say, okay, we know everything. And that's where the human comes in it again. That's where the human component comes in again. And I love when you mentioned about you were the hero person as well, and then it took you several maybe experience and events to actually shake you and say, okay, this is not happening anymore. I need to change. Same thing with me when I was burning out and I was like, is this the only way? And if it is the only way, I don't want it. I don't want it. I want to seek a different way of doing things so that I don't reach this level of burning out and hating the career that I so passionately love, which is healthcare, taking care of people, etc. It's funny, this morning I was talking to my mom and I was telling her, my partner in crime, Magdalena, we have this first episode for podcast, and her eyes light up and she was like, oh my God, so you were talking about more of psychological things, more of mental things? I'm like, yeah, Mom, are you interested? She's like, oh my God, I wanted to be one, but I couldn't. I'm a housewife. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, Mom, what do you bring to the table? What do you advise? She's like, listen, we have become machines and we need to stop. We need to pause. We need to remember that as humans, we were created to be able to move forward and accelerate. We need to stop. I mean, she made my morning. And I was like, okay, I'm going to express this because it's so true. It's so real. And I think the journey we're on is going to be very, very challenging, but beautiful challenging.
I love what you just said when you brought your mom into our conversation. I can almost feel like she's sitting here with us on this green sofa. What a powerful message from a person from a totally different generation
Yes.
who also sees through her own very eyes that we are on the way to become robots. And we are here to shift the narrative from hero or from robot to human. So I really appreciate you bringing your mom into this conversation because these conversations are very much about humans.
Yeah.
We bring to our sessions not only speakers from healthcare, not only from psychology, psychiatry, from well-being space, but also the regular nurse or doctors who are working in hospitals and are perhaps facing very similar challenges. We also know that our patients and our community can also sense when healthcare professionals are stressed, when emotions are running high. I myself received several comments from the patients when I was still working on the floor that why there isn't enough nurses at the nurse station. The things used to be different a few years ago.
Yeah.
And we know that healthcare has accelerated so much recently. There is the innovation, there is AI, machine thinking, yes. All this abundance is beautiful. But first we need to master our human skills to be able to deal with this abundance. It's very easy to get overwhelmed. And when my boss, and I used to be this boss, I used to ask my nurses, you need to innovate, you need to think outside the box. What does it mean? And what is the box? We need to be also careful the type of language that we are using with our people. So again, this is my vulnerable side. I am not ashamed to say I used to be the hardcore boss that was oriented on KPIs and outcomes. But my message in here is you don't need to choose between the well-being and the professional success.
Yes.
Organizations don't need to choose between well-being of their employees and the business outcomes.
Yes.
Because actually now we know with the UAE government putting out the mental wealth strategy and investing 105 million dirhams into it, the message is clear. We are going in one direction.
Yes.
Everyone is gonna follow. So there is no choice. We are gonna go into the well-being space.
Yes.
And when the humans, the healthcare workers, are well taken care of, they're gonna produce amazing effect, not only on the business side, but most importantly for the patients, for the families, for the community, for entire ecosystem.
Yes, it's beautiful. Ecosystem, exactly. And the human and the initiatives. And now, as you were saying, it is a national priority to put well-being at the top, because the Stigma International report came out and 60% of the overall well-being is still at a good level. Overall well-being meaning the mental, emotional, physical, psychological, financial, etc. It's still at a good level. But when you break them down into smaller elements, then you see where the gaps are. And with this, it's very important to put in programs programs at a national level, programs at an organizational level, and at an individual level. Because yes, we are accountable for our own well-being. We cannot be working in an organization and keep blaming that organization is not promoting. We should be the voice, we should be the champions, we should be the ones moving the forward towards that type of well-being. And the amazing thing is that World Health Organization focuses also on mental health at work, and they focuses on well-being, and the statistics do not lie. It's there money-wise, it's there psychological-wise.
Love it. I love the statistics and data from research, because this is how we set the context for this discussion. It's not to depress everyone, because some numbers are definitely not looking great.
Yeah.
We see opportunity in here. We see great opportunity for improvement, for building communities, for collective intelligence, tapping into our collective intelligence and producing a ripple positive effect in our communities. So as Nina mentioned the Cigna findings, actually I have attended a meeting this week where Cigna has presented the results for the UAE specifically. And the alarming fact for us is that 57% of respondents said that their mental well-being score is declining.
Yeah.
And this is a drop by 17 points from last year.
Yep.
I think even before listening to this presentation, I could see that this is the case. It's all over the news. We can feel, we can sense, we can see what is going on in organizations, but also outside. Our own examples, all the previous speakers that we have brought to our sessions, and also the feedback that we have received from our audience. So thank you for this, guys, because we learn from you, as we said again. We learn from you. You are our inspiration.
Yeah.
These sessions are about you as much as they are about us, sharing the expertise, shifting the narrative, normalizing the conversation. A good news here is that the vitality score for the URE is 72.5%, and this is above international level.
That's
So,
amazing.
there are good points, but we also need to make sure that we are addressing the dropping scores and that we are addressing the mental health component specifically.
It's really amazing when we put research, statistics, and experiences into our discussions, because they will then formalize that whatever is being said is done and tested, and it's imperative that we make a shift, that we move forward. Now, one of the things that I struggle with, and I still do, even though I have moved out from stressing myself a lot, but we were just discussing it, me and you, where we struggle to actually zoom out and try to look at things from a broader lens, I would say. Because when you're in the situation, when you're autopiloting, the word that you always say, Magdalena, when you're autopiloting, you cannot actually realize how deep you are into the stress. You become so busy and you become so occupied with the target that you have, which is tick, 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 I have to do all this. And then at the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. I'm drained. How am I going to give? How am I going to do what I think I'm destined to do? And why I say I struggle with this, because it's not easy to change habit. And it's not easy to shift the mind to do something different. But I think what is important is to have realization, to have that self-awareness that something is not right, and I want to take all the steps that I can to get the tools that I can so I can make a change.
Thank you for mentioning the autopilot, because this is actually a real phenomenon out there. And I see a lot of my clients, people from healthcare space, who are they are feeling like they are running on the treadmill and the speed is increasing. On the other hand, they don't feel that it is okay for them to stop, or they don't know how to stop. So when we end up in this autopilot reality, it's a very challenging situation to be in. Imagine yourself, you are in an environment where maybe you feel it is not safe to ask for help. There isn't anyone to ask for help. there isn't anyone who can carry a therapeutic conversation with you, or you yourself are not used to asking for help because you are in the superhero narrative, plus you are also in the autopilot mode. Probably the two worst possible combinations out there. So, how do we stop? And we have discussed and reflected on it many times before. Again, we are not preaching in here. We know it is not easy to stop. I've been there myself, and the stopping point can come through few different modes. As you mentioned, Nina, awareness. How do we get this awareness? We either are exposed to this type of information, so we know that there are many other options, right? There isn't only one option, that stress and burnout is a mandatory tax that we have to pay for professional success. So here we are breaking the myth. Stress and burnout is not a mandatory tax that we have to pay for professional success in healthcare specifically. We can have it all, the well-being on one side and the thriving in your current role, also progressing through the career ladder and making change, positive change for yourself and for others.
Wonderful, wonderful and amazing. And I love when you said that it cannot be one or the other. It has to be both. And there are options where we look at well-being and we look at the businesses when we are in the organization. Now, one way to do that, which I am trying to, is to put it in the strategic mission, vision, values of the organization, and to really give it that priority, just as we give our financials priority, just as we give our marketing, just as we give our anything within our business. Once it's in there, you can start small. It doesn't have to be a big, fantastic thing at first. But the fact that it's there and well defined, because it's not about well-being and having a few sessions of yoga per year, or just now in November we're starting the
Wellness
run
marathon,
and the wellness things. It should be on a daily. It should be communicated, and it should trickle down from the top down. And once it trickles down, it becomes cyclical. It becomes a ripple effect. People start talking about it. And an example is, I started my wellness sessions with my team. I just thought that, okay, how do I shake the boat? Wellness sessions. And it's magic. Now they all talk to me about their mental health, their wellness, and what they need. And this is what we have to promote, and in the right way, right? Because we don't want people to come and say, oh, I'm burdened and so on, because some people may take it in a negative way and use it as a weapon. However, taking it in the right way is the way forward.
Beautiful example. And actually, I am also very cautious about the way and about the language that we are using with our teams, with our colleagues, when we are discussing very sensitive issues, stress and burnout. Are you struggling? Are you thriving? You are the leader and you are setting the example. So again, it needs to be done in a professional way, because yes, individual level and then organizational level. We are trying to find a right balance between the two. And Nina, as you've rightly highlighted, individual has the responsibility. They have the personal sense of agency almost to take charge of their own narrative. So same like here in our sessions, we are shifting the narrative from healthcare hero to human. It can happen just with one individual. One single individual can start this positive change. Of course, I fully agree with you. It has to be embedded in the organizational culture. It has to be in the strategy. There has to be budget allocated. There has to. There has to be, almost a synergy, a synergetic energy in this equation, so everyone benefits, not only the individual, the organization, patients, families, ecosystem.
Absolutely. And every type of change that you bring in the organization, you will expect resistance, because people are used to being in their comfort zones, happily enjoying everything in their comfort zones. And then when you kind of nudge them a little bit, it starts to shake in their heads like, someone's trying to change my usuals to something different. And that's where you get the resistance that comes in with the change. But I think it's in this type of change, the benefit is huge. And they will only realize it once leadership takes the ownership to show them the benefit.
Amazing. Let us also talk about possible challenges that we are expecting on this journey, because we know we're gonna get challenged and we're gonna get questioned about shifting the narrative. And questioned, I mean, I am ready to receive the coaching. I am ready to get challenged and to get shaken. To start also looking at my own way of thinking, my own way of doing, and the way of being. But this is why we are here. We don't say that we have prescriptions. We don't say that we have fixed solutions, and we do not advise a blanket approach or one size fits all. Every individual and every organization has to find their own way, unique way of implementation of the well-being strategy and how to provide environments where everyone thrives.
Yes, and these challenges that we may face by shifting the narrative are real. Why? Again, it's the human. And they will question, what led you to think that you can make a difference? Who are you to make a difference? And I think the fact that we're coaches and we have seen and learned how we can shift the mind and how we can be from a certain point in our lives and reach the goal or the vision that we want. We are ready to handle it. And we want it, actually, because we won't be doing what we're doing if we are not really built for it, one, and we have not got the experience and expertise for it, and we are gonna learn from it. Yes, it has to happen.
Actually, I am excited for the challenges. I am excited for the resistance, for the challenges, for questioning. And as you said, I'm not expecting a smooth sailing. Let our boat
Yes.
rock.
Yes.
I am ready. And you said, Nina, we started with a vision, and now I'm started recalling the pictures in my head when we were sat outside this cafe in Ekamai, and I was so excited with these visions. And very often when I have these visions and I'm getting excited, majority of people don't understand where I'm going, because the vision is so huge and it takes time to put this vision into goals, into strategy, break it down into small steps. And this is something I have also learned through my journey. But to start with a powerful vision and put it out there in the universe, it's gonna happen. We can see how far we have come over the past 7 to 8 months just by starting this safe space and a conversation about shifting the narrative to where we are sitting here today. For me, this is magnificent. And we should celebrate this achievement. We should celebrate our audience and every single person who has contributed to this success. You are our not superheroes. You are our humans. You are our community. And community is the new currency. We would not be able to be where we are without you guys.
And community, when you mention community, several times the image that comes in my mind is from my background, from my African background and from my Lebanese background. And both backgrounds, they value community. So, there's always the group of the family where they gather, and you have an elder who gives them, wise words and information. And you have the kids there questioning the elders, like, why do you do this? This is not the right way. And then, and yes, as humans, we cannot live without community. Even if we try, we will not prosper. And the communities that we see nowadays that are thriving are some examples, such as the nursing communities, where they go and they provide learnings, they provide support, they provide whatever expertise they can provide to the people who will embrace it, definitely. And if we go to community in a simple form, we look at our areas where we live. There are small communities of people all around. And the beautiful thing about here in Dubai is that there are so many diverse nationalities and you get to see them in their own element and how they function. And yes, we want to build a community that focuses on the human and changes the thought of being a hero.
Wow. Wow. This takes me back to my own community, to where I come from. I am Polish by birth. So, there is a very strong sense of community and looking after your elders. And I was actually the granddaughter, who looked after my grandparents and grandparents. And till now, I recall the feeling of immense gratitude, pride, listening to their stories, being able to help them when they are frail. And this is, I think, how I transitioned into nursing as my professional journey. It was the desire to help others, the selfless desire to help others, because we get so much internal satisfaction. We refill our cup by serving others. But also we have to remember to refill this cup in few different ways, because our cup as healthcare professionals here, it needs to be full. Let's make sure that every day this cup is overfilling and overspilling, so we can continue pouring for others. This is our duty, and I think in our moral obligations as healers, as healthcare professionals, as caregivers, whether we are in a formal capacity or informal capacity. It's our duty to keep pouring for others. But we cannot do it if our cup is empty. So please, please, please refill your cups, recharge your batteries, or light your candles like Florence Nightingale did.
Yes. Wow, wow, wow. There's so many reflections going on right now, really, honestly. And yes, my nursing journey was also very challenging. And I feel like it just came to me. It's like, boom, you're going to be a nurse. I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do with this. And it wasn't easy, nursing school and then getting into the hospital. And then you realize that you are responsible for the health and life of another human being. And then what happens is you push yourself because you want to make sure that that person is really well taken care of. We had like 4 or 5 patients maybe in our shifts, or sometimes even more. And you need to make sure that at that whole shift, your patients are well taken care of. And what happened to us? We forgot about us. We forgot about our humanity and our filling our cup. And it took us a while to come back and realize that it has to start with you. It has to start within you. And you have to build a community around you to help you to do that. And once that is done, you can start lighting the path for others. And that's what we always talk about, is that we want to be the light. We want to be the ones, at least the starters, and bringing people towards the same, building our tribe that we always say. And I love how you mentioned about Florence Nightingale's light. Would you like to discuss more about it?
Wow, thank you for asking me these questions, because actually, as a director of nursing, when I used to work in Kuwait a couple of years ago, I got exposed to a certain type of ceremony, which I haven't seen anywhere else in the world. So during a nurses' week, the nurses would have a ceremony which is called a candle lighting ceremony. I want you to picture this. We are in the dark auditorium. The chief of nursing is standing at the front in the middle with a proper lamp, like Florence Nightingale used to have, which is paraffin filled. The nurses will come one by one in order, light their candles, and go back to their seats. At the end, the whole auditorium is lit with these lights, and this is how we are renewing our pledge. For me, that was the most profound way how we commit to our profession, how we commit to serving others selflessly. But also, the symbol in here is we are holding the candle in our hand. So this is our own candle. This is how we refill our own batteries. This is how we keep shining the light for people out there, for someone who might be struggling, who is sitting in the dark. And this candle might be just, a game changer, a deal breaker for them. You might be their savior.
Powerful, 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 guys. You might be their savior, as she mentioned. And that's true, because when someone comes to you feeling down and feeling lost and feeling not themselves, as leaders, we've seen that a lot in our offices, where our nurses, our managers, or whoever is working within the organization, they come to us. They don't ask for help, but when you see them, you know that they need help. And because of that, I think us being here today is going to help us to actually really make a difference. Really make a difference, to understand that we need to be there for each other. Just the imagination of that auditorium and the candles lighting, oh my God, what a beautiful image. What a beautiful image. And similarly so with the batteries, because, if we're thinking about our eras now, it's all about the digital world and so on. So the light is a light. You can choose your own light. It can be simple as a candle, or it can be a huge, projector.
Yeah.
But do have the light and do fill your cup so that you can overflow it.
This is so emotional.
Yeah.
I really feel goosebumps.
Yeah.
I really feel that we are in the right time, in the right place, in the right space to be having this kind of conversation. I mean, the country leadership is supporting the well-being vision
100%.
for the whole nation.
Yes.
They don't discriminate. Everyone is involved. The tolerance policy doesn't matter where you come from, which nationality, which background.
Yeah.
As long as you are a good human, you are invited
Exactly.
to the table. And this is also one of our values in here. Everyone is invited. We want to tap into the collective intelligence. We want to learn from you. We want to serve you.
Yeah.
We want to contribute to the positive change, and we want to see that positive change just traveling. Imagine a collection of batteries, right?
Yes.
So if one battery is on red,
Yes.
then the one on green
Yes.
can help the red.
Yes.
So we make sure that we are always going kind of red, but when going for orange, immediately someone is able to step in. And this is when we have the skills, to start this type of conversation, when we feel confident in ourselves because we acknowledge our own humanity. Only then we can see when the other human out there is not doing okay.
Yeah.
Then we are comfortable to ask the question. We are comfortable to wait for the answer. And we are comfortable to deal with what is going to happen after.
And speaking of questions, I'm sure listeners will be asking us a lot of questions on how to have awareness, on how to change the narrative, on how to normalize conversations of mental health, well-being, nurturing the human. And we will bring our expertise, but definitely I think our listeners will give us so much food for thought that will create that mind-boggling situation that happens that we can then come up and say, wow, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's all about storytelling, right?
Yes.
And we already had a lot of powerful speakers on our LinkedIn Live sessions, Thriving Together. So some of these speakers will revisit. And obviously, as we all evolve, the conversation has also evolved. We're gonna go bolder, more candid, more authentic, and be ready that we are shaking the boat. We are also not afraid when our boat is shaky.
Yeah.
I'm ready to ride the wave of whatever is coming.
Yes.
And I would again like to appreciate our viewers, our community, for supporting us, for sharing your feedback, for sharing your comments, for sending the private messages saying how much you need this kind of conversation because it's not happening either in your organization or in your community. You have no one to talk about what you are facing in your professional journey. So we are here to normalize the conversation. We are here to create a safe space. Everyone is welcome. Come and share your story. We learn by storytelling. And this is what we do here in this podcast as well. There will be a lot of powerful storytelling so we can all learn, become better humans, so we can help other humans out there.
I agree, and I love it. And storytelling is a beautiful way of helping people understand difficult conversations, such as the burnout and the stress, and sharing previous experiences and the learning taken from them and the tools that we acquire as we go is very important as well. And it's not a magical solution that we're bringing. It's going to take time. But the fact that we are able to create a different type of thinking, I think that is where we can start.
And that's a beautiful start. So I think we are near the end of our first episode in here. And I have a favor to ask. If you like what you hear, if you like what you see, if it produces a good feeling inside you, please, we are asking for your support. We are asking not only to like these episodes, but also to share it. The more people from healthcare community are gonna hear about it, the more we can produce this positive effect. And please share your feedbacks as well, because we cannot improve, we cannot make it better if we don't know what else is there to improve.
Absolutely. And we are open for anything that comes from you to our way. And again, as Magda mentioned, we are grateful that we could be here today because of a lot of what our listeners or our viewers on our Thriving Together in LinkedIn have commented on. And let's move from heroes to humans.
No capes, just conversations, laughter, and real talk. This is what you can expect from us. So stay tuned. We're gonna make a lot of noise and we're gonna take it globally. Not only here in Dubai, not only in the GCC, it's gonna be everywhere. Thank you for your support.